At 6:51 in the morning, the laundry room still holds a little of last night. One light has been left on, not bright, just enough to make the dryer door shine at the edges. The warm hum is gone, but the metal still remembers it. The blanket from the couch is in her hands, softer now, carrying the faint smell of detergent and the room where everyone finally slept. A message waits on the phone nearby. It can wait a little longer. She stands there, fiancée, keeper of small things no one always sees, holding the cloth for one extra second. Not to prove anything. Not to be better at the day before the day has even begun. Just tired. And for once, the tiredness does not have to become a failure. It can stay there with her, quiet and ordinary, beside the warm dryer. The apartment has that early sound before the day becomes a day. Not silence exactly. More like the building holding itself still. A pipe gives a small knock behind the wall. Somewhere below, a car starts and then fades. The refrigerator keeps its low voice in the kitchen, and behind the closed bedroom door, someone turns once under the sheets and settles again. She has already crossed the small living room without turning on the lamp. There is a cup on the coffee table from the night before, not quite empty. A throw pillow has slipped halfway to the floor. The couch looks a little tired too, with one corner pressed down where someone sat too long after dinner, half watching something, half answering messages, half being home. The blanket had been there all night. Now it is warm from the dryer, folded once over her arm, then opened again because one edge still curls in on itself. She smooths it with both hands. Nothing big. Just the kind of movement a person makes when the body already knows the shape of care before the mind is caught up. The laundry room is hardly a room. More of a narrow space tucked beside the hallway, with shelves above the machines and a plastic bottle of detergent turned sideways because there is not quite enough room for everything. The floor is cool under her feet. The light left on above her makes the white wall look pale and ordinary. The dryer is still warm. She rests one hand on top of it, not because she needs to, but because the warmth is there. It does not ask anything. It does not need an answer. It simply gives back the last small heat of a chore that finished while everyone else was asleep. Her phone sits face up on the shelf beside a stack of towels. One message waits there, the little screen dark now, but she knows it is waiting. She knows the shape of it without reading it again. Somebody needing a reply. Somebody asking a small question. Somebody expecting her to be available because she so often is. For now, it stays unanswered. There is no announcement in that. No rebellion. No clean decision with a name. Just her standing in the laundry room with the couch blanket in her hands, letting one thing remain unfinished while the morning still has not opened its eyes. That can be enough. She folds the blanket again, corner to corner. The fabric gives a soft sound, almost nothing. She notices a piece of lint near the seam and brushes it away with her thumb. A faint smell of detergent rises from it, mixed with the familiar smell of the apartment, the couch, the nights they have spent there talking too late, the tired little meals eaten with plates balanced on knees, the shows paused and never finished. A home leaves itself inside the things it uses. And she is inside those things too, though no one always notices that part. The towels replaced before they run out. The blanket washed because it had started to carry too much of the week. The light left on because she knew she would come back before anyone else woke. The dryer emptied before the clothes wrinkled too badly. The little work that does not look like work once it is done. She is not angry about all of it. Not exactly. There is only that thin morning tiredness, the kind that sits behind the eyes and under the ribs, not dramatic enough to explain and not small enough to ignore. It came with her into the laundry room. It stands beside her while she folds. She presses the blanket against her chest for one extra second. Not a hug, not really. More like a pause the body takes when no one is looking. The dryer warmth moves through the cloth and reaches her shirt. Her shoulders lower a little, not all the way, but enough that she notices the difference. There are some mornings when being needed begins before the coffee. Before the blinds. Before any real sentence has been spoken. This morning, for a few seconds, nothing reaches for her. The message waits. The apartment waits. The day waits in its unopened way. She stands with the blanket from the couch, in one small laundry room, under one light left on, and something in her does not have to hurry forward yet. The tiredness can belong to the room too. It can sit on the warm metal, in the folded fabric, in the quiet space between one task and the next. It does not have to mean she failed. It only means she was here. The first load of the day is already finished before the first real word has been spoken. That happens sometimes in a small apartment. A person can move through a whole set of tasks before anyone else knows the morning has begun. The towel over the bathroom door gets moved to the hook. The blanket from the couch gets carried under one arm. A sock is found near the leg of the coffee table. The little things gather quietly, and she gathers them too. Not because anyone asked. Because she noticed. The laundry room light makes a soft square on the hallway floor. It reaches just far enough to touch the baseboard and the corner of a pair of shoes left there the night before. Beyond that, the apartment is still blue with early morning. The blinds in the living room are closed, but a little gray light presses around the edges. She can tell it is 6:51 without checking again. There is a certain feeling to that time. Too early for the day to have fully begun, but late enough that the mind has started making its list. Coffee. Work. A message to return. Something for dinner later. The question she forgot to ask. The thing she said she would pick up. The laundry that is not done, only moved forward. She places the folded blanket on top of the dryer for a moment and leans both hands beside it. The warmth is fading now. It is still there, but thinner. Less like heat, more like memory. The dryer has done its part and gone quiet. The small room is left with lint in the corner of the filter, a bottle cap not screwed all the way down, and the faint cotton smell that comes after fabric has been tumbled and softened and returned. Returned. That is what so much of care is. Putting things back where they can be found. Bringing a room back to itself. Taking what has been used, slept under, carried around, or dropped in the corner, and making it ready again without making a speech about it. She is good at that kind of returning. Maybe too good, some mornings. Good enough that people forget it takes a person. Good enough that the clean blanket simply appears on the back of the couch again, and the towels are dry, and the light bill has been remembered, and the message gets answered, and the day keeps going as if all of it happened by itself. The phone remains on the shelf. Its screen is dark, but the waiting is still there. She knows that small pull in the body, the little inward lean toward responsibility. It is strange how even an unanswered message can have weight. Not heavy in a dramatic way. Just present. Like a hand lightly resting on the shoulder. She looks at it once. Then she looks away. The blanket is easier to look at. It has a corner that never folds perfectly, no matter how often she tries. The stitching near one side is a little loose. A small patch of the fabric has gone smoother than the rest from being used every night on the couch. It has covered tired knees, chilly feet, one late movie, one argument that softened before sleep, and many evenings when no one had much left to say. A couch blanket knows the ordinary shape of people. It does not need anyone to be impressive. It does not mind the crumbs, the long sighs, the body sinking down after work. It does not ask why a person is quiet. It just stays close, taking on the warmth of whoever reaches for it. She folds it once more, even though it is already folded. Maybe that is the whole pause. One unnecessary fold. One extra smoothing of the hand along the fabric. 1 second where she is not solving, answering, finding, remembering, or preparing. Only touching what is warm. There is a kind of loneliness that can happen inside usefulness. Not the loud kind. Not the kind that asks to be named. Just the small space that opens when a person realizes how much of their love has become invisible because it has become routine. She does not resent the blanket. She does not resent the apartment, or the person sleeping behind the closed door, or the life they are trying to build with its narrow rooms and shared bills and little habits. There is tenderness here too. Real tenderness. It sits beside the tiredness, not replacing it. Both can be true at the same time. She picks up the blanket and holds it against her for that extra second again. The phone stays where it is. The message can remain unanswered while the dryer cools, while the light hums above her, while the apartment waits in its half-dark peace. For now, nobody loses anything because she pauses. For now, she is allowed to be a person before she becomes useful again. By the third fold, the room seems to have less to say. The dryer is cooling. The light above her keeps its small circle on the wall. The hallway outside the laundry room is still dim, and the apartment feels held together by faint sounds. A floorboard. The refrigerator. A car passing below the window with its tires brushing wet pavement or old morning dust. Nothing asks to be noticed loudly. She stays beside the dryer because there is no reason to leave yet. The blanket is already clean. The message is still unanswered. The day has not turned toward her with its full face. For a little while, the laundry room is not a place of chores. It is only a place with one warm machine, one soft blanket, one person standing very still. That is rare enough. She does not always know how tired she is until something stops. While she is moving, tiredness blends into the movement. It hides inside the next task and the next small decision. It hides inside the way she remembers where the detergent is, how long the dryer takes, what is almost out of milk, which bill has not cleared yet, which tone to use in a reply so no one feels brushed aside. Moving can cover a lot. Standing still tells the truth more plainly. Her hand rests on the blanket, palm open. The fabric has cooled on the outside, but inside the fold, there is still warmth. She slips her fingers between the layers and finds it there, held quietly where the air has not reached. A little pocket of heat. A small proof that something finished its cycle while nobody watched. The phone does not light up. Maybe the person who sent the message has gone back to sleep. Maybe they are busy now. Maybe they have already forgotten the urgency that landed in her hands before dawn. She does not try to solve that. She lets the maybe stay as maybe. For once, not knowing does not need to become action. She breathes in. The detergent smell is mild, almost faded, not sharp enough to cover the older scent of the apartment. Couch fabric. Sleep. The faint dust of closed blinds. That lived-in scent of a small home that keeps holding people even when nobody has made it perfect. It has never been perfect. The laundry room shelves are too crowded. The basket handle has a crack in it. The wall behind the dryer has a smudge she keeps meaning to clean. One towel on the stack never folds the same size as the others. The apartment has corners where life collects itself without asking permission. Still, it is theirs. That thought arrives without ceremony. Not as pride. Not as a speech inside her. Just the quiet knowledge that this little place has carried them through evenings when they were too tired to cook, mornings when alarms felt too early, nights when the couch became the only soft landing left. The blanket has been part of that. It has covered both comfort and exhaustion. It has been pulled over shoulders during late television. It has been kicked aside during restless sleep on the couch. It has been gathered around cold feet, then dropped, then found again. It has been used without being thanked. So has she, sometimes. The thought comes gently, and because it comes gently, it does not harden into blame. It only sits there with her, beside the dryer. She can feel the truth of it without needing to defend it. Some care becomes so steady that people stop hearing it move. The light hums overhead. She shifts the blanket in her arms and feels its weight change. Not heavy. Just present. Enough to remind her that a thing can be held without being carried forever. Enough to remind her that warmth can pass through ordinary cloth and still reach the body. Her shoulders loosen again. The message can wait. Those 4 words do not sound brave inside her. They sound small. Almost plain. But in the early laundry room, plainness feels kind. There is no one here to measure how much she gives, or how fast she answers, or whether she is being enough in all the invisible ways. There is only the room. There is only the blanket from the couch. There is only her hand holding the folded edge for one extra second, as if the softness itself has given her permission to not turn tiredness into proof against herself. The day will come soon. The blinds will open. The apartment will fill with footsteps, water running, cabinets closing, a voice from the bedroom, the ordinary beginning of being needed again. But not yet. Right now, the dryer is warm enough. The light is low enough. The unanswered message stays outside the small circle of her hand. And in that quiet, she is not failing anyone. She is only tired. The longer she stands there, the less the room feels like a place she came to finish something. It feels more like a small pause built into the apartment by accident. The laundry room has no window. It has no chair. It was never meant to hold anyone for long. It is a narrow place for detergent, dryer sheets, towels, the basket with the cracked handle, and the small work of keeping fabric clean enough to return to daily life. Still, this morning, it holds her. The light left on above her is not soft in any special way. It is the same plain bulb that shows lint on the floor and dust on the shelf. It shows the edge of the dryer, the white wall, the blanket from the couch resting against her forearms. It shows things as they are, without making them better or worse. Maybe that is why it feels gentle. Some rooms do not comfort by becoming beautiful. They comfort by asking for nothing more than presence. The laundry room does not need her to explain why she is standing there longer than necessary. It does not ask why one message remains unanswered. It does not wonder whether she is being patient enough, loving enough, quick enough, cheerful enough. It just stays. She lets her hip rest lightly against the dryer. The warmth is almost gone now, but the metal still carries a trace of it. She can feel the difference between the outside of the blanket and the inside fold. Cooler at the edges. Warmer where the fabric has been tucked against itself. Small warmth survives in hidden places. She thinks of the couch without meaning to. The way it will look when the blanket goes back over the arm. Not perfect, probably. One corner hanging too low. One side tucked behind the cushion. The kind of everyday arrangement nobody studies, yet everyone uses. Later, someone might pull it over their legs without thinking. That is how many acts of care enter the day. Quietly enough to disappear. Clean enough to be taken for granted. Ready enough that no one has to ask how it got that way. Her fingers press along the folded edge. The fabric is familiar, not new, not impressive. It has that softened place where the threads have loosened from use. In a store, it might not catch anyone's eye. Here, in this apartment, it belongs to evenings, tired bodies, unfinished conversations, and the ordinary reaching for warmth. She belongs to those evenings too. Not as the one who makes everything happen. Not as the one who must always remember first. Not as the one who answers before anyone has to wait. Just as herself, standing there before the house wakes, holding something warm because it is warm. That can be enough for a moment. The message on the phone stays outside the center of the room. It is still there. It has not disappeared because she looked away. But it has become smaller beside the blanket, smaller beside the dryer, smaller beside the simple fact of her breathing without rushing to explain herself. She does not pick it up. The decision is so quiet it almost does not feel like a decision. Her hand simply does not reach. Her eyes do not turn. The phone remains on the shelf, and the shelf remains crowded with towels, detergent, a stray button that has been there for weeks, and a bottle cap she keeps forgetting to throw away. Life is full of small things not answered yet. A message. A task. A thought. A tiredness that has been waiting for a little room. A thank you that never quite arrives from anyone else, but maybe, this morning, comes from the way the blanket holds warmth against her arms. Not spoken. Only felt. She shifts the blanket higher and touches her chin to the top fold for a second. The fabric smells clean, but not like a new beginning. More like something ordinary being made usable again. There is comfort in that. Not everything has to become new. Some things only need to be warmed, cleaned, folded, and placed back where they can keep belonging. Maybe people are like that some mornings. Not fixed. Not changed. Not ready with a brighter face. Only given one quiet minute beside a warm dryer, one light left on, one unanswered message allowed to remain unanswered, one blanket from the couch held close without needing to explain why. The apartment beyond the doorway begins to change. A soft movement comes from the bedroom. A faucet taps once in the wall. The morning is gathering itself. She hears it. Still, she does not move right away. She lets the last few seconds stay whole. Her hand remains on the blanket. Her shoulders remain lower than before. The room remains plain and kind. And somewhere inside that plainness, gratitude rests lightly. Not for having more strength. Only for not having to pretend she has none left. By the time she finally lifts the blanket from the dryer, the warmth has become faint. Not gone. Just quieter. It is tucked deep in the fold now, held where her hands have been, where the fabric has been resting against itself. She can feel it only when she presses gently. The kind of warmth that would be easy to miss if she were rushing, if she were already thinking about the message, the coffee, the room beyond the hallway, the list that waits for her name. The laundry room light stays on. It makes the small space feel separate from the rest of the apartment. Not far away. Just slightly apart. A little room before morning enters fully. A place where the world has narrowed down to cloth, metal, breath, and the low quiet of someone who has been doing more than she knew how to count. She looks once toward the doorway. The living room is still mostly dark. The couch waits for its blanket. The phone waits on the shelf. The bedroom waits with its soft, sleeping shape behind the door. Everything is still itself. Nothing has fallen apart because she paused. That matters more than it seems to. Sometimes a person does not need a long rest. Sometimes there is no long rest available. There are bills and dishes and work hours and people who mean well but still forget to see the little things. There are mornings that begin too early and evenings that end with one more task carried into the hallway. But there can be this. One light left on. One dryer still warm. One blanket from the couch held a little longer than necessary. She lets her thumb move over the seam again, slowly, the way someone might check the edge of a thought before setting it down. The blanket is not folded perfectly, but it is folded enough. The corners are close enough. The loose thread is still loose. The world does not become harsh because of it. She exhales. It is small. It barely changes the room. But her body hears it. For a while, she has treated tiredness like something to hide before it could inconvenience anyone. She has carried it neatly, like laundry pressed flat in a basket. She has answered while tired. Smiled while tired. Remembered while tired. Loved while tired. Folded while tired. And still, the tiredness was there. This morning, it is not an accusation. It is only evidence that she has been present in her own life, in this apartment, in the small work of making things livable. It is not proof that she has failed to be cheerful. It is not proof that love has become too much. It is not proof that she is weak in some secret way. It is tiredness. Plain and human. The message on the shelf waits in its small dark square. She knows she will answer it later. Maybe after coffee. Maybe after the first voice from the bedroom. Maybe when the day has opened enough for words to feel possible. But not inside this minute. This minute belongs to the warm fold of the blanket. It belongs to the hum that has already ended. It belongs to the little light, the fading household sounds, the cool floor, and the quiet permission that has arrived without anyone giving it out loud. She turns toward the doorway, then stops once more. Not dramatically. There is no reason to make a ceremony of it. She only looks back at the dryer, at the room that held her for a few extra breaths, and something like thank you moves through her without becoming a sentence. A quiet, thank you for warmth left behind. A quiet, thank you for one unfinished thing. A quiet, thank you for being allowed to stand there as she is. Then she carries the blanket back toward the couch. The apartment is beginning to pale at the edges. A cabinet shifts softly in the wall as the building wakes. Somewhere outside, tires pass over the street. The day is coming in slowly, not asking permission, not waiting forever. She lays the blanket over the couch arm. One corner hangs lower than the other. She notices it and leaves it there. For once, enough is not something she has to earn. Later, when the apartment has fully woken, the blanket will look ordinary again. It will lie over the couch arm with one corner hanging lower, waiting for someone's knees, someone's tired feet, some small evening no one has planned yet. The message will be answered. The coffee will cool. A cabinet will close too loudly. The day will move through its usual rooms, asking for one thing and then another. But the laundry room will have kept its small minute. One light. One warm dryer. One cloth held close. No one else may know it happened. That is all right. Some kinds of rest are not witnessed. They arrive quietly, almost hidden inside a chore, and they leave without changing the room very much. Still, something in her has been allowed to soften. Not enough to make the day easy. Enough to enter it without turning her tiredness against herself. The blanket waits. The room fades behind her. And the thank you remains, low and warm, inside the morning.